Welcome to Hortculture, where a group of extension professionals and plant people talk about the business, production, and joy of planting seeds and helping them grow. Join us as we explore the culture of horticulture.
Hi friends, how's everybody feeling today? Is everybody hydrated? Brett, you're muted. He's such a rookie move. He's muted.
That's on me. We're here with the special guest. So, off to a really good start.
Well, we know Brett's not nearly hydrated enough to keep his brain working.
I am
Go
not.
drink some water, Brett.
Been having lots of fun this morning with other stuff, and glad to be here podcasting. But I am somewhat hydrated, but I'm definitely excited to welcome Greg Davis to be our guest here on the pod and ask him, are you hydrated, Greg?
Greg is hydrated and continuing to hydrate. Always have to have at least 2 liquids to choose from at all times.
Correct. Yeah. Same. Yeah. It's like hot or cold, flavored, or just regular water. Like you got to have a little mix because I don't want to get up again while I'm doing my endless email chain.
What's your all's feelings on like flavored water, like stuff in water, things that are supposed to be eaten or drunk that go in water?
Things that are supposed to be?
I have strong feelings, but they're personal. The only thing I put in water is lemon juice or lime juice, but
good man.
I love coffee, tea, plain water. I probably go through about 2 liters of Celestial season. At least
Corgis are saying hello. Man, we are on all full systems go today. No, Greg, I am also a lemon or lime only, and like cucumber, basil, all of that stuff to me, not for me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if I'm in a fancy hotel or something like that, that's okay. You know, the thing in the lobby with all the slices of stuff in it, but plain and simple is hard to beat.
Yeah, I just happen to like be okay with the taste of water. I don't, that which is good. Maybe I should just be grateful for that rather than anything else.
Well, it's funny. I gave up soda probably 25 years ago, and it took a month or two because you get hooked to that stuff, right? It took about a month or two, but I don't miss it at all. Now I will buy the occasional fizzy water, something like that. I need to do better with my home fizzy water maker and quit buying the commercial stuff.
Commercial stuff will be pretty good though.
It's kind of nice. Like we also have, an at-home SodaStream water maker thingy, but it's so nice just being able to reach in the fridge and grab you a can out of fizzy water. Even though it's not that hard, you just push a button. Like it's not hard, but there's something about it. We've said the same thing. We don't buy them anymore, but in the, if we ever have some or friends leave some, it's always like, ooh, I get to just grab it out of the fridge.
Well, and I'm so glad you guys brought up hydration because, I got to put on the doctor hat for 2 seconds. That is something we do. And I say we, the collective we, all of us do fairly poorly. And I have to be especially careful because like many people in my family, I don't have a thirst drive. So I can become very dehydrated, especially when I'm outside in sunlight and not even know it. So I like to tell friends and family, I hope you're peeing clearly and often.
That's it sounds weird, but that's a very sweet thing for you to say.
May the road rise up to meet you, and may you pee clearly and often. Sort of Irish blessing for modern times. So Greg, you alluded to this already, but can you just give us, on this podcast, we don't limit ourselves to hardcore horticulturalists. If that were the case, they would have kicked me off. But we like to talk to people in different walks of life, different approaches where plants and horticulture has been an important part of their life or overlapped. But can you start us out just by telling us a little bit about yourself, kind of what you've done for work and for life across time, and why do you think you're here? We're trying to figure it out too.
Well, and I really want to thank you guys for bringing me on the pod. The interviewee is now the interviewer, because I interviewed Brett very recently for my show and podcast on WKY. It's just called Dr. Greg Davis on Medicine, and I was a longtime listener and lover of your pod, but I really perked up and took notice and reached out because of your recent episode on the imposter syndrome, which something with which I have struggled all my life, and many people I know do. But I was born and raised in Big Orange Country, just a little bit south of here in Knoxville. I came to Lexington in UK when I was 17 to go to college, fell in love with the bluegrass. I feel now 50 years later that I'm a naturalized Kentucky citizen at this point. Had to go back to my original home state for medical school, and then immediately returned to the Commonwealth and did all my post-MD training in general internship, residency, fellowship in pathology and forensic pathology at the University of Louisville. So I got the UK, UT, and U of L bases covered when it's sports time. Then didn't have a job lined up in Kentucky, to my dismay, when I finished all that training. So I went and had a great 5 years at Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, where I was a county medical examiner, analogous to a county coroner here in Kentucky, and regional forensic pathologist. And then the call came in 1996 from UK, hey, know anybody interested in coming to UK and being a forensic pathologist? And I raised both hands and was there almost instantly, and was at UK up until I retired from UK in 2004. Just did that. We had a unique relationship for a while between UK and the state, where all the state medical examiners in Frankfurt were also UK faculty. So that was a lot of fun too.
So one thing you left out of the story, I think, was your undergraduate degree. What did you study when you were doing that?
I was an English major, it's interesting. I was a medical educator at UK for 30 years, and we have folks now who major in everything. We've had former English teachers, culinary artists, chefs, and what I tell people interested in the profession is it doesn't matter what you major in, as long as you get your prereqs, to get into med school, more power to you. But in my generation, I'm in my mid 60s, almost everybody who went to med school was a hard science, physics, chemistry, biology major. And I had no intention of going to medical school, but I was a nursing assistant in the old ER at UK. They call them nursing techs now. Probably one of my favorite jobs in medicine. I mean, I did EKGs, ran blood to the lab, cleaned bedpans. It was great.
Things you've seen.
Yeah. And one night at 3:00 in the morning, the head nurse and the resident on call said, "Sit down, we need to talk to you." And of course, being a good old Southern boy, I thought I was in trouble. And they said, "We've decided you need to apply to med school." And I said, "Well, I don't think I'm an English major. I don't think I'm smart enough to be a doctor." And the nurse burst out laughing and said, "Honey, you don't have to be that smart. You just got to work really, really hard." So
that's
I changed
in a nutshell as well.
Yeah, I changed gears, and if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it all over again. But one thing I tell folks interested in the profession and folks in the midst of the profession is, I think literally and figuratively, being an English major and being familiar with literature saved my life in myriad ways. And that, potentially ties into some of the things that greenery and horticulture can do for us, I think, as human beings as well.
Yeah, well, that's part of what I'm getting at. I think is I can relate to that too, having a very fairly non-linear path to whatever it is that I'm doing now, and having a lot of interests and having broader interests and thinking about what it means to be a human and to experience the world as a human being while you're learning how to take care of the human body and mind. And keep us healthy, but keep us healthy for what? And through what different types of ways, that I think you mentioned we've come a long way in terms of accepting different backgrounds. I think we're also in many ways a world apart in terms of understanding mental health and the importance of all of these other things that were sort of treated as outside the institution of medicine or health or whatever.
Oh gosh,
Actually turns out.
it's so true. One bit of a poem I quote to my med students and residents and other learners all the time. William Carlos Williams was a physician and a poet, and he wrote a long form poem called Asphodel, That Greeny Flower. And the line, I have goosebumps every time I think of it. I have them now. It is difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there. And if you sit with that and think about it a minute, given the vicarious trauma of my profession and seeing what people do to others and do to themselves, that statement hits home harder and harder. And I was admonished, 40 years ago by one of my mentors, who's now sadly gone for 25 years, Dr. L.C. McLeod from Floyd County, Kentucky. And I still remember him saying, son, this work will get technically easier and emotionally more difficult as the years go by.
Wow.
Can relate.
Yeah.
I don't think this is just my profession. I think it's can be universal in some way.
Oof. Yeah, I'm feeling that.
I think, you start to see the bigger picture, whether it's like the bigger picture of your farm or the bigger picture of your garden or the bigger picture of your work environment or, whatever that is, you start to have, you don't focus as much on the technical stuff. You learn how to do it. You can do that without all of your brain. And so that frees up more of your brain to look at the big picture. And then you're like, oh no, I want to go back to just thinking about the seeding I have to do, and not the 5 years down the line, big picture. How is, I'm going to always go to like, what's my soil health look like? But, it could be said about any institution. What is the soil health?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Alexis, because when I was in that nursing assistant job, 40 plus years ago, it was very zen. I was in the moment. That's all that mattered. I wasn't worrying about the U.S. healthcare system or, all that stuff. I was just worried about, I need to go over and do that EKG real quick on that person. So I need to hurry up over here.
Well, so I want to just briefly for a second put aside some of the Dr. Greg parts and bring in Greg Plant Person, and just ask you. You have there's different ways to interface with the world of horticulture, plants, trees, etc. And sometimes we get fixated on gardening, or we get fixated on a particular, installing some native plants or something. But how do you interact with plants or prefer to interact with plants? And has that changed over time?
I guess I have to lay a foundation and give a big caveat as we start. And that is, my wife, Vanessa Oliver, knows more about horticulture, gardens, and plants in her pinky fingernail than I do in my entire body. I am not a technical horticulture person. I would put myself as an appreciator. It's like somebody who goes to the opera but can't sing, but they still appreciate the opera. I have my one plant right now in my office. It's an air plant, and I've tried to kill it on a couple of occasions, but she's still surviving, and she brings me joy every time I look at her. But I think what really brought home an appreciation of our green cousins is about 30 years ago. I was at a bit of a low point, and work was very hard in Frankfurt. And I had a commute from Frankfurt to Lexington every day. And I guess an unhealthy way of dealing with the stress would have been to stop at a pub, a bar or something like that. But what I fell into this amazing habit. Buckley Wildlife Refuge was about midway between my office and my home, coming on Versailles Road, into Versailles. And I formed a habit of stopping off there and taking, whether it was a 30-minute walk or an hour and a half walk, as a way of decompressing. And what I noticed was just being in and amongst all that greenery. And thank goodness for whoever the curator was, because there were all these little signs telling me what I was looking at, genus, species, common name, because I am, taxonomy is what a pathologist does, right? We look at something, we recognize a pattern, we name it.
Death and taxonomy.
Yeah, and that was a huge eye opener for me. It was in the late 90s, and it was really before a lot of the literature started coming out in the medical world about the healthy effects of being around greenery. And I was living it without really even knowing it. I didn't grow up in a hort family. Everything I've learned pretty much has been from Vanessa and people that Vanessa knows. And we moved into our house 10 years ago. And one of the first things she did that I still marvel over is we had a very tiny front yard. She ripped it all up, planted a pollinator garden, native plants, and timed the plants in such a way that from basically early spring to early fall, there's a succession of blooms. And
the dream.
Every time I walk out of the door of my house, every time I come home, it almost makes me laugh. It's just so stupid beautiful. And but in addition to being beautiful, I find the scent of things, whether it's that vegetal scent or the flower has its own particular scent, that tickles part of my brain. That's a pleasant place to be, and I think it takes me a little bit out of myself and enjoying just being. But I don't want to. But and that's the thing. I get to reap the benefits, whereas 99.9% of the getting down, getting dirty, hands in the soil is that's all Vanessa.
Yeah, I think, but part of it too. You mentioned the Buckley thing, the Buckley Wildlife Area, and I'll ask you here in another question. But it's a huge part of the horticulture industry, or the students who study plants and horticulture and tree ID and plant ID and all that kind of stuff, is that some of them go on to become managers of wildlife areas or of arboretum, or we had the folks from UDEL on a couple months ago to talk about their botanical gardens. And it's just that it's to me, this public good proposition of having available spaces to spend time in nature, or to spend time with plants, or to spend time in a really well manicured, planned out, thoughtful landscape with plants involved. I think all of that, to me, it's something that, I don't know if I would say the science is catching up to it, maybe, or something along those lines is how it kind of feels to me. Of holy moly, turns out if you have a really pleasant, natural, dappled light, green environment, you tend to do a little better. If you spend time in these places. Is that something you've come across? This is just some armchair public healthing here, I think. But
not just armchair, Brett. Studies have shown, as we like to say. I mean, they are out there. I think maybe it was offline before we started talking online, but we know that people in the workplace, if they have access to a window, one of the coolest things about the medical examiner's office in Frankfurt, unlike any other I've ever seen, and I've visited them all around the world, there are these ginormous picture windows that look westward towards the Capitol. And you can see the Capitol in the distance, but we've seen deer, we've seen other wildlife just wandering around right off the east-west connector in Frankfurt. And so by turning 180 degrees and just looking out that window, I know I felt better. Others did as well. We've also got literature now that says, let's say you're in the hospital for having your appendix out, something of that nature. Your hospital stay statistically is going to be briefer if you have a window that looks out into a courtyard with greenery or a garden or something of that nature, rather than the generic blank wall or window that looks at the bricks, from the building next door. So I think it's one of those things that, especially I would think your listeners who are a self-selected group of folks would immediately glom onto that. I just feel better when I'm around, these, I don't even want to say this stuff. I mean, the more I read, the more I'm out there, the more than human world appeals to me and makes me respect and admire these forms of life about which we know so little. I mean, at lunchtime right now, I'm reading a textbook on trees, and
trees are so fascinating.
Oh my gosh. And Suzanne Simard, holy moly. Hope I get to shake her hand someday. The mother tree conservationist. I'm just boggled at what plants are and what they do.
One of the things, and we're going to circle back around to the imposter syndrome here in a second. I know you wanted to chat a little more about that, but one of the other things that I've noticed is that for you, there's this relationship between the plant world. All of those plants, by the way, would fall into horticultural plants. They're not agronomic plants. They're trees and shrubs and all that kind of stuff. And that between that and walking, the idea of walking as this meditative act. I know that you've read and thought and walked while maybe thinking about walking. Can you speak to that a little bit and maybe shout out a couple other authors or people that think about this walking in the woods, walking in nature stuff?
So for those who are listening and not watching, I am trying really hard not to laugh because I think Brett knows that my wife very lovingly makes fun of me because I am obsessed with the literature of walking. I am not.
It's not running.
It used to be, Alexis. It used to be. But, concessions to aging. But I'm not a person with tattoos. But if I ever got one, it would probably be something like "Solvitur ambulando," the Latin for "it is solved by walking." It is probably just physiologically one of the best exercises we have. But more than that, it is also a way of getting out of yourself a little bit, getting into a rhythm, and seeing the world. You have a chance to literally get out and see the world. I strongly recommend, if anybody is interested, and it sounds dry, but it's not, the literature of walking. Robert Macfarlane is an English professor at Cambridge University, and one of his earlier books is called The Old Ways, where he talks about ancient footpaths in the old world, the new world, and what Macfarlane does in an amazing way. And I've written him more than one fanboy letter because of his writing. He brings in the personal, the natural history, the human history in such a way that, I mean, I'll be honest, fiction usually keeps me awake. Nonfiction usually puts me to sleep, but his nonfiction keeps me awake like reading a novel. There's another wonderful essayist named Antonia Malchik, Malchik, who's written a lot, and including a book on walking, everything from the political ramifications of walking. Are we allowed to walk there? And what if we're a woman or a person of color? Are we allowed to walk there the same way a white male like I would be allowed to walk there? Things that we might not think of immediately, but everything, whether it's human migration or making a better life for ourselves, it's really been because of people supported by the nutrition of plants who walked somewhere.
And our farmers walk a lot. I feel like this is, I think the Gen Z would say this is the equivalent of go touch grass Like
Yes.
this like idea of like walking in nature is the same is the more romantic way to say go touch grass. Like you need to go touch grass.
Oh my gosh, yes. Alexis, one of the times I knew that Vanessa liked me when we started dating early on is she took me to the farmer's market where she worked for 10 years. She worked for Elmwood Stock Farm, and she took me and introduced me to all the farmers and growers.
Oh yeah, you were in at that
Lexington
point for
Farmers
sure.
Market. Yeah, and to this day, I did this last Saturday. Every time I pay for one of my purchases, I just want to say, and I say it internally and occasionally externally, thank you for your knowledge, for your labor that keeps us not just healthy, but enjoying every meal. I mean, first question Vanessa asked me when we went out on a date was, "You like food, right?" Setting
This is a major
the
part of what we do.
Yeah.
That was maybe the most important question from Vanessa, I would assume. It was like, if you don't really like this, then it's gonna be a hard go for us.
set the tone.
Okay, so I have a lightning round here, and then we could talk about imposter syndrome. So, do you have a favorite tree, either specific tree or a tree species?
Oh, hard one. Japanese maple and ginkgo are the first that come to mind. Those, I guess, what is it? I love them all, but some of them I just take more notice, and I'll probably that'll be an ever changing answer as I learn more. But how can you not love ginkgos? They were there before the dinosaurs, for goodness sake.
But not before the sharks, I've recently learned.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
And then
okay, so
I think Japanese maple because of the coloration, how they're red. No, wait, they're green. No, wait, they're red again. That kind of thing.
Keeps you
they also Japanese maples also have like an airiness to them, like an elegant, like dancey airiness that I think is really, really spectacular. What about your favorite? Do you have a favorite flower?
Oh gosh. Zinnia, I guess, comes to mind. Coneflowers, echinacea.
We like the disc flowers. Okay.
Oh yeah, I think the disc flowers speak to me. I'm actually reading the chapter in the book on trees right now about tree reproduction, and it makes me very sad that a lot of people don't know that trees flower.
Oh yeah.
The horse chestnut right outside my office was pretty impressive with those clusters of flowers bigger than my head, that sort of thing. But just studying, I'm such a nerd. Lunchtime, eating and studying trees. But yeah, I'm on the flower chapter right now, and oh my gosh, as a little kid, I used to love those. I forget the technical term for the helicopter seeds. But
the maples.
But now getting to see how they're actually formed, and
I believe the technical term is whirlybirds, Greg.
Yeah, there we go.
That's in the botanical text. I can pull it out.
That's right. Whirlybirdus, Acer whirlybirdus. And last one, this should be the easiest or maybe hardest. Do you have a favorite fruit or vegetable?
Oh my gosh, is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? I know the old debate. So I'm going to sidestep the question by 2 degrees and give you the answer that one of my favorite meals on earth is a variation of hortculturepodcast. It's basically a spring salad, but without a lot of lettuce. And for lunch today, courtesy of Vanessa, diced up cucumber, onion, tomato, chickpeas, with like an Italian dressing, that sort of thing. I like all the veggies and all the fruits. Maybe not durian, but tried that once. Pretty much one and done.
Yeah. I tried durian as well. I was in Indonesia. It was ripe. It was fresh. It was like, if I was going to like it, this was going to be the version. And oof, the only way that I can describe it, the way that I described it is it smelled and kind of tasted like the liquid in the bottom of a garbage can.
Yes, with a little bit of gasoline thrown in.
Yeah.
I tried it in Singapore while I was working there, and I was at a Sunday market, and I thought, when in Rome, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm good. Thanks, Rome.
Well,
I'm good.
Because I am like the opposite. I'm the opposite of picky, and as far as eating, and that one will put it to the test. And you know what? Can I just get this off my chest? This is a horticulture exclusive here. Greg's making me feel safe. Pawpaws, I don't like them that much.
Really? Is it a texture issue?
I don't like the flavor. I don't like the texture that much. Yeah. I'm also not a big mango person or papaya person.
Do you like it as like a baked good or an ice cream?
I would never choose it.
Yeah, that's fair. A lot of people.
Let me just be clear.
Strong.
If you come out of your, I'm at your house for a party, and you come out and you say, "Does anybody want some pawpaw ice cream?" and there's no other ice creams available, I will be having some pawpaw ice cream.
Noted. Okay.
But if you had chocolate and pawpaw or vanilla and pawpaw or whatever, I would say I'd have the vanilla, please. But so yeah, I just feel like it's like a cardinal sin in the local foods world in Kentucky, like this part of the country, is to turn your back on our native tree fruit. But
but I guess, team. I'm on Team Alexis there. I mean, you like what you like, and even if it's native to our state, I mean, poison ivy is native to our state too, but I don't necessarily like to wallow in it. So
yeah, you get that, mix that into your special salad, Greg.
I think Greg was referring to, again, I'm going to bring a Gen Z term in here because I'm learning things. A dense bean salad is what the kids are calling it now.
Oh.
It's a dense bean salad. Yeah.
He said something fun and exotic.
Yes, he did. I think we're just like whitewashing some.
What did you call
recipes,
it, Greg?
But it's a Greek term, hortculturepodcast, and it's basically just a fresh green garden salad, but without lettuce. And I love lettuce.
It's all makes sense. It's all just a bowl that you actually want.
Yeah, well, you can eat. Yeah, and you can eat it with a spoon instead of a fork.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of fun.
I'm a big fan.
Vanessa told me about that dense bean salad term just the other day, and it's like, but we've been eating that forever.
We've been eating that for a while.
It's just, you know, the kids these days, they've got to just bring something back that's been around for forever.
Got to be hip with the lingo. Right?
I suppose, but yeah, throw some stuff in a bowl and call it a day.
Yeah, it's so easy.
Greg alluded to one of our previous episodes about imposter syndrome and in agriculture in general, and I'm thinking to myself, here we have Dr. Greg Davis on medicine, on the pod, big shot, celebrity, international draw for expert testimony. He's been on all kinds of MSNBC, CNN. He's big time.
He's a big pool for us, guys. He's a big pool for us.
Big deal. We will not be paying your agent, Greg. Just FYI. They keep emailing.
We'll be sad about that.
But I think there were elements within that maybe either you identified with or had observed, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think this is a phenomenon of thinking, feeling people in any profession. I think it is universal. That imposter syndrome of when are they going to find me out? I spent a good portion of my career thinking, when is my department chair going to figure out just how much of a dummy I really am? And I think it's oftentimes, this is a gross generalization, but there's literature to back that up too, that it tends to be relatively high achieving people, whether it's a grower, a farmer, a physician, a MBA, I don't know, whatever it is that you do, where in its best form, it's like a little bit of test anxiety. Like I need to have continuous quality improvement. I need to be a lifelong student. I tell we have this abbreviation in medical education. You're a PGY1, postgraduate year one, when you're a first year resident. Well, I'm a PGY 41 or something like that at this point, because I'm still learning. That's why we say practice medicine, because it's continually learning. So I think in its best form, the imposter syndrome is like any emotion, in modified, moderate form, it can be a good thing. It spurs you to keep up with the literature, to ask folks. I'm going to a meeting next week of a bunch of forensic folks, and I'm going to say, as I always do over coffee or a beer, hey, have you learned something new that's important? Anything you want to impart to help all of us? But like many human emotions, if you go too far to the other side, too much test anxiety, and you can't concentrate, and you can't learn. The kind of professionals I've encountered that I'm a little bit scared of are the ones who've never had even a hint of the imposter syndrome, who think from day one, maybe they're fresh out of school, whatever school that is, and they think they're hot stuff and they know everything and you can't teach them. You do not want those individuals as your caregiver, or probably doing anything else that has an impact on your life. So, like so many things, a little bit of it might be a good thing to make us better at what we do, but too much of it can be a bad thing.
I think
and sorry, Brett, but one thing, it was a taboo in medicine for years and years, a couple of generations ago, to even hint that maybe you should go see a counselor. And, if you're macho, we can call it, we don't have to call it therapy. We can call it debriefing, and I've told some of the, macho-esque people that I've worked with in the past, I don't care how tough you are. It is a sign of strength to ask for help. And regardless of what stressor you're feeling at work, if you are a thinking, feeling person to any degree, you live in the world. You're going to need help at some point. And there are tons of great resources. Like if you're at UK, there are resources without cost. And many employers offer their folks resources for, again, therapy, debriefing, counseling, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think that's an important linked parallel of things that have been developing, because it's from the horticulture side of things. It's been really interesting to see this gradual, I don't even know what to call it, admission, maybe rediscovery, discovery, whatever, choose your language, about the importance of not only in the diet, fruits and vegetables, a diet, or plant-based diet, or heavily plant-based diet rich in fruits and vegetables tends to be a good thing for people's health. On the flip side, but I think also the stuff we've talked about so far, of like the idea of spending time in nature, so having trees around in the landscape, having being able to see leaves and plants and things, maybe it's even take care of a plant or a bucket tomato or something like that. That we've seen this. I think a lot of horticulture, especially in Kentucky and places like that, has had a chip on its shoulder about it being a little bit of the forgotten about. It's not one of the big agricultural commodities like corn or wheat or cows or whatever. And so to see this kind of like, oh, okay, so you guys, turns out you all do appreciate us after all, as these things start to come out, and everyone, we've seen the emergence of things like recovery gardens for people who are struggling with opioid use. We've seen things where if kids and school trips going out to visit, so I think it's just been this really interesting, as the medical establishment or the medical research has caught up to some extent with things that maybe people knew for a long time. We're seeing this renaissance of horticulture, whether that be food as medicine, which I think some people would be like, well, duh, why did you have to brand it food as medicine? Like, eating a good diet is an important thing. I just think that's it's a way that I hadn't connected it until you and I had talked about this process of rediscovering that spending time and interacting with plants is good for us.
It's interesting. I think I sent this to you a week or two ago, Brett, but my two favorite podcasts are the Horticulture Podcast and Out of Doors, which is from BBC Radio Scotland. And they just cover anything. If it happens out of doors, great, they're going to cover it. And they were talking about therapeutic horticulture a couple of weeks ago, specifically in Glasgow, Edinburgh, places like that, these gardens where psychiatric and mental health professionals suggest that their patients go to be out there, be in amongst the plants and recognize and acknowledge. I think acknowledgement, we've known this as human beings, I think all along. It reminds me of a professor I had in undergrad at UK. We're going back a long time now. And I forget it was something to do with biochemistry. And he looked at all of us scared kids and he goes, "You all know this. I'm just going to help bring it out of you." And I never forgot that. I mean, we know this instinctively. We evolved in the trees and amongst greenery. It's one of the reasons we love it so much. And I think acknowledging that and realizing that maybe, spending all of our time indoors on screens might not be the best thing for us.
I think another thing that I've always been struck by, and so this is the business joy. What is it? Business production and joy and plants and watching them grow or something like that. Horticulture, there always feels to me to be a strong element of hope within it. And sometimes to our detriment, we're a little too hopeful about how things are going to go or the price we're going to get for a product or whatever. But I was reading this. It was an obituary for this guy who'd been in done bonsai for and done horticulture for a long time, and he was like 92 years old. And the person who wrote the obituary said that the day before he died, he talked to him on the phone, and he was starting more seeds. And it was just one of those like, oh man, like just touching, that there's this new beginning to things, and the beginning and ends of things don't always line up with our lifetimes. And so, I just think that we're just on the surface of understanding fully how we interact with these plants. But the good news is we don't have to understand it fully in order to do it.
So sometimes you just got to go like boop a flower, man. Like it doesn't have to be like to bring it down. I mean, how nice is it when you go outside and something new is blooming, or you see like the first little leaves come out in spring, and you just want to go up and you're like, oh my God, hi, like.
Oh gosh, you see those. You're out at the gorge or somewhere, and you see those snowdrops. The first emerging. Oh gosh, I teared up a little bit, Brett, when you were talking just now. My father-in-law is 91 years old. He still is gardening. He has sent seeds for Vanessa to plant, for my daughter in Louisville to plant. The beans growing outside of our house are what are they called? Morelda beans from his garden. And I think that connection, because, I'm probably preaching to the choir for your audience, but food isn't just food. It's love, it's family, it's memory. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, how many times have you smelt a certain smell and it took you back to when you were 5 years old or in a certain place? I mean, I cannot look at a garbanzo bean, chickpeas, and not think of my mom. She was a Sicilian American, a great cook, and every time I eat a garbanzo bean, it takes me right back.
Same with just like smells or plants, like it's the same idea. Every time I see a gladiola, I think of my grandmother's house, right? And then from there, it's like all the things you played outside and saw, and I grow those because she grew those, and she had them up against her house, and I just remember playing in the yard and seeing them, and have always loved them because of that, because it's a memory. Probably, I mean, the flowers are beautiful, of course, but it's more the pleasant memory that's attached to it than it is the actual flower itself. And so there's that, relation, both, food and just plants, or, the plant somebody gave you, your friend who gave you a cutting, or your grandmother who passed it down. We've talked about that before. But just that connection that, plants can give in multiple ways.
Oh
It's
gosh,
pretty
yeah.
special. Yeah. Even giving people flowers, right? Like that you give people a bouquet of flowers and there's a connection there, instantly, even if you've never met before. And you're just welcome to the company or welcome to the office and you hand them flowers. There's just kind of this instant connection and joy, and that's been studied as well. And so even indoors, if you don't have a window, here are the things you can do to
Oh
kind of
gosh,
have that connection.
Alexa, we always go up to the Bel Air Blooms table at the farmers market on Saturday, and every week, I'll see one of the ladies that works there hand a single flower to a little kid, a toddler or a slightly older kid, and the look of pure joy on that child's face. And I mean, that's something we should never lose. I mean, I think it gets, as we adult more and more and get tied up in certain things, we forget that basic wonder and joy at something as, quote, simple, end quote, as a flower.
I think plants are just always for me wonder and joy. Like you never know if it's gonna work. You never know what's gonna happen, or you may be growing something new, and there's just always a level. Even like I've been doing this and growing seeds and heavily involved, and my path has been very linear within the horticulture world. But there's just this consistent, like to Brett's point, hope, but just wonder and mystery, and what is the world, and I could have done everything right and it still didn't work, and sometimes that could feel depressing, but it also has this mystery involved in it, and you're like, oh well, and you try again. And so
sometimes you do a really great job and the plant doesn't go along with it, and then other times you do a terrible job and the plant just like is like, I got this, boo, don't worry.
I know there's no rhyme or reason. I think like I kind of love that is that like we have all these books and all these studies, and I had a professor tell me one time, Dr. Genevieve told me, the plants don't read books, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's true. It's like we can know
You're not supposed to be doing this,
99% of
okay?
the time what's going to happen, but there's always a chance something random happens because nature, and like that's crazy, right? It's so we think we know everything and then we don't. And plants, I think, are a great way of showing us how little we know and how much mystery in the world there is.
We use that expression in medicine all the time. Well, that patient didn't read the book.
That virus obviously was not taught in this class.
That hope that you both are talking about, I see that every year when Vanessa will grow a lot of things from seed, and I'll be in the kitchen and she'll be in the back room, with the little spritzer bottle, moistening the soil and talking in the most loving, supportive, nurturing terms to these little things that haven't even sprouted yet. And then, of course, regardless of how much care she takes, sometimes there's, and I'm not supposed to mention this nemesis of Vanessa out loud, but sometimes there's a groundhog that comes on the scene, or some other critter. One year, all of her tulips were just sort of sliced at the stem, and it wasn't a human activity. It was some critter of some kind that just like took one bite, and
it's a thank you.
It makes me want to sit outside with a rocking chair and a flashlight and just wait and scare those critters off.
What do you have to say for yourself? Well, I really appreciate you joining us, Greg. This has been awesome. The time has flown by. You can check out Greg's show, Dr. Greg Davis on Medicine, which he mentioned is on WUKY, which is the Lexington NPR station. And you can get in contact with us on Instagram at hortculturepodcast. You can also email us at hortculturepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you like to hear, what other episodes you might want us to cover, or topics you might want us to cover. Also, if you haven't yet, please take a few seconds to just go and rate us in whatever podcast app or other platform you're listening to us on. But really appreciate, again, Greg, for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure and an honor.